I like to laugh. People like to laugh. Everyone loves to laugh. That is why comedies are some of the most popular this year. Not this year, I mean, always. Comedy movies almost always make a lot of money if they have stars behind them. And I wanted to go over the funniest movies of the century. That is from 2000 until now. Couple rules. Only one per franchise. I do include the Cornetto trilogy as a franchise, if you know what that means. If not, don't worry about it. That's pretty much it. I'm just saying, I'm looking at these movies purely for their comedic value. There are some movies, for good examples from this year even, Guardians of the Galaxy or the Grand Budapest Hotel, that although are great and they are comedies, have enough action and sci-fi in the case of Guardians of the Galaxy or drama in the case of Grand Budapest that I wouldn't necessarily consider them all-out comedies. These are all-out comedies. These are the funniest movies you can watch. I do want to give a shout out to The Room for being unintentionally the funniest movie I've ever seen. Anyway, let's get to it. Number 10, getting this out of the way for all you women out there, Mean Girls. As much as guys, especially the teenage guys who hear about it every day, might like to deny it, Mean Girls is a really funny movie. Tina Fey wrote it, which, if you're familiar with her work on 30 Rock or SNL, you know means it is funny. Amanda Seyfried, Rachel McAdams, Lizzie Kaplan give some hilarious performances. This is before Lindsay Lohan went crazy. And if you want to impress a girl, or I guess not impress, but appease a girl and watch a funny movie, Mean Girls is a good one to watch. Number 9, my Cornetto trilogy movie. It was hard to pick one. I had to go with Shaun of the Dead because this is a horror comedy, but it's really a comedy with a few horror elements. And it's really funny as all hell. This is British comedy at its peak. Edgar Wright is he is the best comedic director working today, and this movie is hilarious. If you haven't checked it out, if you're a fan of horror movies, this really pokes fun at a lot of them, obviously mainly zombie movies, and it's well worth the watch for anybody, I think. Number 8, unfortunately, I do not own because I just saw it this year. 22 Jump Street was amazing in every way. It is the perfect sequel. It is hilarious. It pokes fun so much at sequels. It satirizes Hollywood. Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill are just amazing. Every single cameo in that movie, or not even cameo, just supporting role, is hilarious. And Phil Lord and Chris Miller really they did this with 21 Jump Street and made it even more so with 22 Jump Street. They just made the concept work so much. I do prefer the sequel to 21 Jump Street, just because I think the self-deprecating humor and the self-awareness was there a little more, and that made it work. 7, from last year, This Is the End. This movie is riotous. If you don't know, all of these actors, Seth Rogen, Jonah Hill, James Franco, are playing themselves, and they're pretty much interacting with each other after they do not get ascended into heaven during the rapture. This is amazing. More cameos than you could ever want. Just ridiculous scenes. It's non-stop laughs from beginning to end, and I cannot recommend this movie enough. Number 6, another one from that crew, Superbad. A lot of the people would have this more closer to their number 1, but I mean, this is a funny movie. Michael Cera and Jonah Hill really make this movie. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg wrote the script when they were young teenage boys, and it's still some of the funniest stuff I've ever seen. McLovin and all these random set pieces, especially scenes with McLovin and the cops, are absolutely hilarious. This is kind of one of the quintessential teenage guy comedies, and has a good coming-of-age story, and I love Superbad. Number 5. This movie does not get enough attention. It does kind of get it in the main scope of cinema, but it does not get it kind of with my age group, which is really a shame because Zoolander is hilarious. This is kind of the peak of just stupid main character comedy. Ben Stiller gives, by far, no contest, his funniest performance of all time. He goes all in, as does Owen Wilson and Will Ferrell as the villain. Great cast with just, I don't know how much of it improv and how much of it was scripted, but it is so funny. And the character of Derek Zoolander is amazing. It is immensely quotable, and Zoolander rocks. Check it out if you haven't. Number 4, this movie is actually super underrated in my opinion, especially because it's really in the same vein as Superbad, that kind of movie, and that is Forgetting Sarah Marshall. This is Jason Segel, he wrote it, so if you love How I Met Your Mother, or if you thought The Muppets was funny, because he also wrote that one, the live action movie, the first one, check this movie out because it is hilarious. It's really out there. It has a really great cast. It's Jason Segel, Mila Kunis, Kristen Bell, Russell Brand, Jonah Hill, and it's funny. It's really underrated in my opinion, and I love Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Number 3, Borat. I don't have words to describe Borat. I mean, if you don't know what Borat is, watch Borat. If you know what Borat is, watch Borat, because it is kind of the epitome of stupid, gross out, fake documentary movie, but my God, Sacha Baron Cohen is a genius. The people he goes up to, the situations he puts these various people in, is just amazing. Like, he's a comedic genius. He plays the character of Borat so well, and I'm laughing just thinking about this movie because it is just so out there, so ridiculous, and so funny. Number 2, in my opinion, maybe the most underrated movie of all time. That is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. This movie is so unique, so expertly crafted with such love. Like, every single millisecond in this movie is clearly thought out to a T. I mean, the set pieces, Edgar Wright's directing is flawless. The script is flawless. Even, like, it's ridiculous. It's very, very much a comedy for our generation, my generation at least, because it's very fast-paced. There's not a lot, but there's pop culture references. There's a lot of awkward humor. This is Michael Cera being Michael Cera, but what really makes this movie is Edgar Wright's pitch-perfect direction, and my God, it is funny. Before I get to my number 1, which may or may not be obvious, here's some honorable mentions. Number 1, this is the funniest movie of the century. This is the funniest movie, the second funniest movie in my opinion of all time. And although I will accept some arguments for a few movies on that list, maybe the ordering is around, this is indisputably the funniest, and that is Anchorman. If you haven't seen Anchorman, you do not watch movies. If you don't even know what Anchorman is, then why are you even watching my channel? Because I don't want people like you around here. But, I mean, this movie's so great. It's Will Ferrell at his peak. Ron Burgundy is one of the funniest characters ever. The cameos and supporting cast, including Paul Rudd, Christina Applegate, Fred Willard, it's amazing. This movie is absurdism, randomness, references, quotability. This is extremely quotable. If you haven't seen Anchorman, you have not experienced the magic of comedy movies. Anchorman is the funniest movie of the century. Let me know if you agree, disagree, think I left something out. I know there were a few I did have to cut because I want to keep it to 10 plus 5 honorable mentions. I did have to cut a few movies that I thought were very, very funny. Let me know if you think 21 Jump Street was funnier than 22 Jump Street. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.